Whenever I walk on a hot Sunday, especially over tarmac or desert sand, I often see something like water in distance. But as I approach, it vanishes, and sometimes I see things dancing above hot surfaces. Thanks for physics for refraction and optical laws. As the physicists call these phenomena mirage shimmering, explaining them as a result of light refraction. But I have always wondered, what exactly am I seeing? As per physics, this effect happens due to light refraction on hot surfaces like tarmac, dry sand, or any place that absorb and emit heat quickly. The air near the ground becomes hotter than the air above it when light travels through these air layers, each with different temperatures as well as different densities. It bends. This bending happens because hot air is less dense than cooler air. So our brains interpret the bend light as if it's coming in a straight line. That's how we end up seeing an optical illusion, a glow that looks like water on the lodge. Or sometimes a rapid shift in temperature causes hot and cold air to mix unevenly, making the path of light unstable and chaotic. As a result, we see real things distorted like they are dancing, shimmering, or wrapping. Light is essential to vision, yes, but what we see in Mirage Shimmering is neither the bending of light nor an optical illusion. I'm not denying that the light bends, no, but I'm saying what we see is not just the bend light, and it's not simply a trick optical illusion, but an actual interaction between light, heat, humidity, and air molecules that forms a visible structure under specific environmental conditions in both mirage and shimmering. A mirage is not a product of illusion. It's an emergent property of energy, heat, motion, and light, all playing out in space. What we see isn't a mirage in the sense of illusion, but a kind of glowing ceiling in hot air, followed by an thin layer of heated air with dry, lightweight, and fast-moving molecules beneath a layer of cooler air. This glow ceiling caused by a semi-stable movement of hot air particles acts as a defective boundary. It reflects light and whatever objects are above it, but it's not illusion. I might call this ceiling a thermal threshold, a semi-stable ceiling of hot air that behaves almost like a membrane. This boundary is not a random refraction that creates the mirror-like glow we interpret as water. Shimmering isn't an illusion either. It's hot, drying air with fast-moving particles existing in slightly thicker layer than mirage. Upon surface heating, particles near the bottom layer hit the surrounding air particles, causing them to dry, become light, expand, and move more rapidly but less stably. These conditions are what makes the air more visible, giving it that water-like effect. In other words, I could say the wave heat looks where a surface appears hot without any smoke, flames, or visible vapor is actually caused by heated, dried, fast-moving air particles. And when this hot layer breaks its ceiling, a thermal threshold, it interacts with the cooler air above, causing molecular exchange, which give us the waving effect like the air is boiling. Yes, air can be seen, but only under specific conditions, when it's dry, hot, and turbulent enough. In such cases, air becomes visible not because it has color, but because its fast-moving molecule disrupt the path of light. The presence of light during this disturbance allows us to see the air from a certain distance and angle. We are not seeing through the air, but rather we are seeing the air itself made visible with the help of light. However, under normal atmospheric conditions, moist, dense, calm, it behaves differently. Its molecules move slowly, group tightly, more compact, and more uniform. They don't cause as much disruption enough to become visible. That's why we don't see an ambient air with our naked eye. All parts are will pass in a whole space. There is nothing that stands out. Water has no color too, but we can see it, not because it's colored, but because of how its physical structure creates visible boundaries. Its parts are whole parts, not in a whole space. But if water will behave like air with no defined boundary, the same density as the atmosphere and no flow that I can track a whole part in a whole place, then we probably will not see it either. It will be there but visually absent. The tear film on your eyeball is already in front of your vision system, but you don't see it. Why? Because its molecules are perfectly arranged, unified, balanced, seamless, that they form a whole part in a whole space, uniform, undetectable, and maybe, just maybe, your brain has just learned to ignore it. Mirage and the shimmering we see above roads or heated radiating surface is not just light being reflected, and it's definitely not a simple optical illusion. What we are seeing is a visible interface of air shaped by interaction of with movement and light. It's air changing its behavior, becoming visible because heat has disturbed its equilibrium. Physics talks about gradient smooth change in air density rather than a structured layer that behaves like a surface in a mirage. And I'm saying that gradient isn't just smooth, it can behave like almost like a reflective ceiling. The interface is physically there, made of air, and is what actually directing the light. So therefore, we are not just seeing a path of pale light, but seeing the physical medium in the act of interacting with the light. No deception of vision perception. Thank you.